We're here today at Canton Barbell with owner Michael Mercer, who's going to help us demonstrate day 2, the no equipment variations for the WarriorFit program in phase 1. First, Michael's going to demonstrate a curl up. So here you see him curling himself up, reaching his hands forward, only coming as far as his shoulder blades are off the ground, and then he's unrolling back down to the ground. Notice that his legs aren't coming up and he's not using his leg muscles to help himself pull up. The way to make this harder would be to hold at the top and slow the descent. The way to make this easier would be to hold at the top and then go back down at that same speed. For the second exercise, Michael is going to substitute wall slides with a lift off instead of the overhead press. Here you see that he's using his shoulder blades to drive his arms all the way up the wall. And then once he reaches the apex, he's then going to use his mid-back muscles to pull his arms up off the wall. Notice he's keeping his back straight the entire time, so he has to use his abdominals to prevent his back from arching. And then notice how on the way back down, he's using his shoulder blades to slide the arms down rather than just letting them drop. For set 2 of day 2, with no equipment variations, we're going to do an anti-rotation press. And now Michael is going to substitute a isometric hold using a door frame or here a sturdy object like he has in his gym. So he's pressing his left side into there and he's holding himself firm and using his abdominals to not let his bottom half rotate separate from his top half. So the way to make this easier is that you could either not hold for as long, or you could scooch closer so that more of your bicep is against it. Now you're not having to push so hard, and then you could still use the same amount of effort. Or he could scooch to make it harder. He could scooch away, put his hands against it. Now all of a sudden he's having to control more rotation, putting more force on his abdominals. The next exercise in set 2 is the glute bridge. Here Michael is using his abs to keep his back flat, and then he's going to drive through the ground to lift his butt up off the ground. So notice that he's coming down and landing in the same position that he took off from. Also notice that he's not allowing his back to arch as he raises, keeping his abdominals engaged the entire time. If this is too challenging, the way to make it easier is that we'll ask you to not go up so high. So now Michael is trying to apply those same mechanics, making sure his abdominals are stabilizing his spine, but now only driving up through a partial range of motion. The way to make this harder is that you can either grab an implement, some object that you have around the house, hold it in your lap, and now you're going to lift it up, now making your body weight effectively increased as you're doing it. Another way to do it, if you don't have an implement, is that instead of doing a 2-legged, just do your own body weight but use one leg. Again, trying to use the same mechanics, drive all the way up, back down, keeping your torso stiff with your abdominals, not letting your back do this work. The next exercise is the single leg hinge. Michael here is holding a grocery bag filled with some objects to give himself a little bit of a weight. And notice how he's dropping straight over, keeping his stance leg neutral and straight. And he's using his posterior chain, the muscles on the backside of his leg, to control the motion down and then to pull the motion back up. Notice how he's using his left arm to balance himself, and then he's allowing that weight to drop straight down. He's also making sure to keep his back straight, trying to keep his chest up in the air too much to make sure that his glutes and hamstrings are doing this work rather than his back. The last exercise in set 2, day 2, is the sit-up. Here Michael has his arms across his chest and has his feet anchored. Notice how he's pulling himself up. He's almost curling like a ball, and then he's going to uncurl on the way back down. The way to make this easier is he's going to walk himself up, then cross his arms, and now only do the lowering part, working to use the same mechanics even though he's only doing half the motion. The way to make this harder is that you could either hold a weight or you can unanchor your feet For our third and final set of day 2, the no equipment variation, this is very similar to the version with the equipment. First, we have mountain climbers. Here, Michael is positioning himself in the same alignment that he would for a push-up, but now he's cycling his legs forward and backwards. Notice the moderate pace that he's using. The way to make this easier would maintain that pace but elevate his hands, or stay on the ground and slow the pace down. The way to make this harder would be to increase that tempo. Now he's almost barely putting his foot down at the forward position, going even faster, but notice how he keeps that same plank position the entire time. For the second exercise, we have the thruster. Here, Michael is using his handy dandy grocery bag as his dumbbell. Notice how he goes into a full and deep squat, finishes that squat, and then does a full press overhead to finish the motion. He should be using the same shoulder mechanics that he was during the first set with the wall slide, and the same squat mechanics you used during your warm-up. For the final exercise in set 3 of day 2, we have the get up, stand up. Here, Michael is first going to curl up, then he's going to finish the squat, then he's going to do the bottom half, and then curl down again, going all the way up, all the way back down. The good curl up mechanics don't get lost as he goes, neither do the good squat mechanics. So make sure that you separate these two as you go, and make sure that you're doing each component to its fullest as you complete it.